Hello everybody, it's GameBoy10 here, Nintendo by 08, only as me, as Spikezillion, whatever you want to call me, or Tyler the Mana. Once again, I can fairly, say that I had to make a commentary about this, because, I don't know, I've been in a very big commentary mood for things like this, and, I was just gonna write an email, and I thought, it's not as special, and I mean, it's harder to write something when you really just want to say it. I find, or at least that's just how I work. I also think I can write more through just vocally saying things. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so this one's about Sarah once again. I believe this is the second video in a row, and I do apologize. There are drumming videos coming up, people, but for now, this is what's going on. So. Sarah had a bit of problems before in the past, and I think I mentioned this in my last video, how she's kind of like in depression mode there, and I mean, I feel the same way, and I've now noticed why, and it's almost the same with me, but it seems to be a lot more with her. She's kind of like, she's kind of like in a danger mode for, like, relationships, and I think that's kind of what it is. I mean, she's had breakups before. She thought that, that this guy was going to be the one or whatever, things like that. And, I mean, she had her moments here and there. And, I mean, I don't blame her. I mean, I've had my own fair share of moments, too, and they just don't work out because you think, but you don't exactly get, I guess you could say. And, I mean, I've had a similar story, but to put it shortly, I don't really want to say too much once again, because I don't really want it to be huge information. But, I mean, she was with this one guy, and she heard from him first. He said that he loved her or whatever. And then she said, oh, well, I love you too, blah, blah, blah. And then she kind of got into, like, a thing where she was trying to do her best to talk to him. And apparently that best wasn't enough. He wanted more. I guess he was more obsessed with her than she was with him. And, I mean, he really wanted to he was just like, oh, why don't you talk to me today? You're too busy with other guys, flirting with them and shit. And I mean, that, first of all, that's wrong. I mean, you can have friends that are girls, or the girls can have friends that are guys. There are times like that, and, it's just a trust issue. And I've had my own fair share of trust issues. I definitely do. I really don't like to trust very many people that are even my quote-unquote friends. But quite frankly, I do have these people around me too, so I do understand his side. But for the majority of it, I do think that that's a little bit too stupid of him to say something like that. And it feels like, it's almost like he thinks that she's, like, fully responsible for him. And the problem is, too, is the fact that she's kind of too busy being under stress of, like, other things such as school, and she also had, like, her family problems. I don't think I mentioned that in my past video, but she has family problems here and there with, like, verbal abuse and, I believe, even physical abuse for the most part. And, I mean, she has school. She's definitely going to big places, and I mean, she's probably worrying about that, but then this guy doesn't see it that way. So, and the other thing, too, is he was also very busy with stuff. He does working and stuff. He works for his mom on the weekdays, and he's usually free on the weekends, apparently. So, she wasn't too happy about this guy, and she was like, oh, well, why, like, why are you acting like this? Like, I mean, I love you, I wouldn't cheat on you, I would do anything like that to you, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't see it that way, and he just was seeing red. He couldn't stop blaming her for things, and then he basically cheated on her, and that's just really cruel. It really is. And I feel really sorry for Sarah. I mean, I know it's the past, and we shouldn't really judge our past for our present, But I mean, people don't really understand things. In most people's view who have these kind of problems, including me, when you look into the past, you reflect it to the present, and it's not because it's going to keep happening. It's because the mistakes that we've had causes some of these problems that we have now. And that's the thing. For example, I've had a few, social problems because some people have done things to me that have both emotionally hurt me and practically physically hurt me because of other people wanting to, beat me up and stuff at school. Like, I'm not joking either. And, I mean, with that kind of things happening, like really harsh shit, it really does mean that you should really reflect on your past in order to use it for the present. It's not like we should forget about the past. You can't. Because you really need it. If you forgot about the past and you made the same mistake twice, you know how fucked up that's gonna ruin your life? I mean, it's worse just doing it the first time. So, that phrase saying, forget about the past and don't worry about the future, it can't be done. It's unfixable, and that's why we need to learn from our mistakes and continue remembering our present. But usually we'll have to remember the good times and then just the mistakes. Not really the bad times where it's like, there's no real problem solving or things like that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. The reality is, though, I've had, I do understand. I know Sarah's watching this because I believe I've sent this to her, so I understand how you feel. I had a past relationship similar to this. It wasn't the exact, but it was more on the side of responsibility problems, and I think that was. It was half trust and half responsibility, but mostly the responsibility side is where I'm trying to target. What it was I was with this girl for a long time. I believe I told you about this girl, Sarah. I told you about her, and we went out for almost a year. And she was like, you should. Why, it was more along the lines of the opposite. I was kind of more obsessed with her and things like that, but I wasn't, saying stuff, oh, you're flirting with guys and stuff, but I knew it was happening. I never said anything, but it was happening in my head that she was doing, she was, I don't know, she was desperately attached to my best friend, Liam, or one of my best friends, one of a few. And she really was just being a pain. And I was like, well, you kind of pay more attention to him than you do to me. And it kind of bugs me. I mean, I understand that you might put friends or family in front of anything else, but it kind of upsets me when you won't respond to my messages, but you'll respond to his, and you'll see my messages too, and you'll just ignore them. And that mind boggles me. And she'll offer him things that I've never been offered before. It's almost like a kick in the face, and it really does hurt. And I'm like, why is this happening? I mean, it really sucks. And this is coming from his perspective, I guess, your ex, but it's also coming from another perspective as well of why these problems come in. And I mean, she was like, oh,